Thank you, Dr. Abhishek Das. Today we have gathered here on the occasion of World Alzheimer's Day, which is celebrated every year on 21st September, and the whole month is celebrated as World Alzheimer's Day. This month has been selected to create awareness among the people regarding Alzheimer's disease, which mainly causes dementia, so that people avoid the discrimination of the person, and people are, before getting the disease, they were ready to prevent it as well as ready to fight with the disease. So as we have eminent speaker today, Madam Professor Dr. Rita Lakhani, who has more than 20 years of experience in the field of nursing, and she has received various awards on the profession, and she is a very dynamic leader. We are very fortunate to have Madam with us. Madam is presently working as principal at School of Nursing as Dewa Patel University. I welcome Madam to the presence to this webinar. And we have another speaker also, Ms. Ubi Devi, who is also going to speak on the Alzheimer's disease. So as both of them, they were going to talk on the dementia. In brief, I'd just like to tell about prevention, what are the things we can do to prevent the Alzheimer's disease or the dementia. So we have to take out time every day to keep our mind cool. It is very important to do prayers and keep our mind and soul at rest or at peace. Then healthy diet is always very important to treat all the diseases as well as to prevent all the diseases to make us healthy. And especially the pungent, bitter, astringent, those tastes we should be taking, food like radish, ginger, mustard, pepper, spinach, lettuce. If all those we take in our food, then it will increase metabolism and thereby it will stop inflammation, and we will be able to fight with each and every diseases. Then another very important thing, we should be flexible. Flexibility is very important for our body. So engage ourselves in exercise like swimming, walking, playing. It's very important. The next is restful sleep. We should be having restful sleep at least for 6 hours every day. Then emotional toxins, we should be able to release the emotional toxins what we have within our body. So forgiveness is a very, very important aspect. We should not be keeping whatever we have anger on others or enemy feeling about others. If we forgive and forget the things, what has happened, what is not going to help us in future, that will keep our mind and give away the toxins from our body. Then cultivate loving relationship. We should have friendly relationship with everybody. If we love ourselves, love others, and we have a nourishing behavior, then it will help us to prevent dementia. Then another very important thing, enjoy life with love and happiness. If we have a belly full of love every day, then definitely we'll have a good heart, brain, and everything will be fine. So there will be harmony in our life. So once we have harmony in our life, we enjoy the music, we enjoy writing, we enjoy drawing, and if we say like enjoy your hobbies, give time apart for your hobbies in your life so that we can keep our brain cool and healthy. So we should be not thinking on becoming healthy or becoming what we achieve or we get success in life. We should be thinking of our future also. Keep our brain at rest for some time, keep our heart at rest for some time, and we should think our body, mind, spirit, and soul. So if we are very good soul, good human being, we are happy always and we are trying to help others, definitely we'll have a peaceful mind, we'll be able to enjoy the life, we'll feel that satisfaction, then we'll be able to stop the dementia to some extent. With this, I'd like to conclude, and I welcome both the speakers of the today's occasion. To thank you all. Welcome all the delegates to the session. Over to you, Abhishek.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the valuable inputs. I'm sure the participants will be greatly benefited. Now, I would like to welcome our academic chairperson, Professor Alok Kumar Buragohai, sir. Professor Buragohai was the founder head of the Department of Molecular Biology and Biotechnology and the registrar of the Tezpur University, Assam. He has also served as the vice chancellor of Dibrugarh University, Assam. Sir is also the founder of the ONGC-sponsored Center of Petroleum Biotechnology in Dibrugarh University. I welcome you, sir, and look forward to hear from you. Sir, the mic is all yours.
Thank you, Dr. Abhishek. Thank you for your kind introduction. My esteemed colleague, Dr. Gitumani, and our very distinguished speaker for this afternoon, Dr. Rita Lakhani from D.Y. Patel University, Mumbai. We are very privileged to have you, ma'am, today, this afternoon, here in the Northeast, speaking from the West, listening to the West of the country.
Thank you.
And on a subject that is so very important, especially in the context of this pandemic situation, it has assumed additional significance, I'm sure. And you will be throwing light on various aspects of dementia. And we are all eagerly looking forward to listen to you. My distinguished colleagues, most of them are very young colleagues in this university. The university itself, as you have come to know by now, is a young university, very new university. And our students are there. There are many students I can see attending and also other faculty members. So it would be great to listen to you on dementia. As a person who's almost 65 now, I myself are very apprehensive about the effect of this particular condition, if not a disease. Dementia, to my best understanding, dementia is a condition which can be caused by several diseases like Alzheimer's disease, and of course, senility dementia is there, vascular dementia is there, frontotemporal dementia is there, Lewy body dementia. There are multiple types of dementias. So, but age is not the only factor. Even though I state that 65, being 65 and moving onward, I have a reason to be scared of dementia, becoming a victim of dementia. But then the age is not the only causal factor. It is multifactorial. Dementia is multifactorial, and that is why I think awareness is required to understand and appreciate the symptoms and the syndromes so that we can take precautionary measures. To the best of my knowledge, it is a very new, modern kind of condition, health condition. Before 20th century, it was very rare. And before the Industrial Revolution, it was, of course, rare. Very, very rare. So it's a new phenomenon. It's a new condition that is afflicting human beings, and it is so debilitating. It is so unfortunate because it impairs our cognitive abilities. It impairs our memory. It impairs our sense of orientations and so many things. Alzheimer's disease is one of the prime causes of dementia, and we have seen that how Alzheimer's disease is emerging. According to WHO, Alzheimer's disease is one of the prime major killers, in today's world. I think it is one of the among the top 5 or 10 highest mortality reasons. Alzheimer's disease, and Alzheimer's disease is, as we all know, dementia is one of the major symptoms or conditions that affect what we call dementia. This cognitive impairment, loss of memory, and nothing could be more pathetic than that. And ultimately, it leads to other conditions, serious conditions relating to the nervous system, and the affected people lose life. Now, one very interesting report I have read a few days back at one of the universities in the United States of America, I think it is Texas Health University. They have started a long-term research project onto the effect of COVID-19 on the nervous system with respect to dementia and other impacts on the central nervous system. We all know that this COVID-19, this virus, coronavirus, generally targets the pulmonary system. It causes fibrosis of the lung and all that, and all attending subsequent and consequent issues that really imperil our lives. But then even though there is no report per se categorically stating that the central nervous system could be also affected by this virus. We need very strategic research on that. We need to be very, very careful about this virus. And that kind of research has been initiated in the University of, if my memory serves me right, I think it is the University of Texas Health, which have initiated this research of COVID-19 impacting the central nervous system, impairing our cognitive abilities and all other conditions, aggravating other conditions of mental diseases. So this is a very important subject, no doubt about it. Dementia is a very important subject because we have to really address the condition so that our life can become very productive. We remain productive intellectually, physically, and otherwise. So therefore, the topic chosen is very important. I congratulate and I thank my colleagues for being very thoughtful to have invited an expert on the subject, Dr. Rita Lakhani. And I once again welcome you, ma'am, on my personal behalf and on behalf of the university, Royal Global University, and look forward to a very exciting and interesting discussion.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for the valuable inputs. I'm sure the participants had a great learning experience. Moving on, I would like to welcome our Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, Professor Dr. S.P. Singh, sir. Sir is a well-known academician and administrator having a dynamic and enterprising personality with more than 30 years of experience in teaching, research, and academic administration in reputed institutions across the nation. Sir has been associated with the Royal Group since its inception in 2009 as the founder director of the institution. Sir has also served the Amity Group as the Senior Vice President Academics and the Founder Vice Chancellor of the Amity University, Chhattisgarh, before joining the Assam Royal Global University in 2016. With the vision and hard work of Professor Singh, the university has been ranked the #1 private university of Assam by the education world within a span of just 3 years. While serving the Vice Chancellor of Royal Global University, Professor Singh has completed 20 years of headship of well-known academic institutions of the country. A geologist, MBA, and a law graduate with a PhD in strategic management, Sir is also a baseball player and actively involved in various social and cultural activities. I welcome you, sir, and request you to address the participants with your words of wisdom. The mic is all yours, sir. Hello, sir.
Yo encourage sana sin herido.
I think sir has left the session due to some reasons. Without wasting much time, moving on, we have amongst us Professor Dr. Rita Lakhani, ma'am, who is the principal of School of Nursing, D.Y. Patil University, Mumbai. Madam has more than 20 years of experience in various faculty positions and have been previously held senior academic and executive positions in numerous universities. Madam has been working as an educator and researcher in higher education since 2003. Ma'am has an portfolio of pedagogic and clinical research activity with professional publication in the field of professional development and medical surgical nursing. Ma'am has 16 papers and 11 articles published under her name till date. Her contribution towards her work has earned Ma'am numerous awards, prominent among which is the Bharat Vidya Shiromani Award in 2015. Ma'am also holds the position of Vice President of Oncology Nurses Association and is the editor and reviewer of various journals. We welcome you, ma'am, and look forward to hear from you. The mic is all yours, ma'am.
Thank you very much. At the outset, let me thank Dr. Abhishek Das for this wonderful introduction. I also thank Dr. Geetu Mani for inviting me, and I thank all the dignitaries who are present from the Royal School of Nursing, rather the Royal Global University. Thank you very much. I'll share my screen. Give me 2 minutes.
Sure.
I'm here to talk about dementia. Let me start off with a question. Why should we talk about dementia? Personally, if you ask me if I have to answer this question, I feel it's an epidemic and there is no cure. That's a big problem. I find families struggling and as they have patients whom they have to care for with dementia. It has been predicted that by 2020, twice as many people will be living above 65 years. Right now, we already have a problem of caregiver shortage. And in some places, it is critical. But it is going to get a whole lot worse. So this is the reason we as families, as citizens, should be thinking about dementia and how we can live with it and work with it, because a lot of us are going to be forced to do that in the coming decade. So when we look at the incidence of dementia, it is suspected that as many as 50% of the people over the age of 80 develop Alzheimer's. 5 to 8% of all people over 65 have some form of dementia, and the number doubles. Alzheimer's causes 50 to 70% of all dementia, and there are types. We have vascular dementia. This is a brief overview of dementia. So dementia in India is also increasing. In India, we have 41 lakh people above 60 years who have dementia. Let's look at a short video. Can you hear it?
Ma'am, yes.
Can you hear it, Abhishek?
Ma'am, we can hear a little bit, but the sound is not clear. It's not audible completely, ma'am. The participants are requesting if you could explain, ma'am.
Participants are requesting to?
Explain it if it's possible, ma'am, because the video is not at all audible.
Okay, it's not at all audible.
No, ma'am.
Okay, let's stop sharing. Okay, close it. Close it. Please click this. Should we share again? Just let me ask them whether they're able to hear this. This is not on.
Diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease.
Yes, ma'am.
It's
Can
the
you
most
hear
common
it now?
cause of dementia.
Yes, ma'am. It's audible, ma'am.
40 million people
Sorry?
It's audible, ma'am.
Yeah.
worldwide. And yet, finding a cure is something that still eludes researchers today. Dr. ALOIS ALZHEIMER, a German psychiatrist, first described the symptoms in 1901 when he noticed that a particular hospital patient had some peculiar problems, including difficulty sleeping, disturbed memory, drastic mood changes, and increasing confusion. When the patient passed away, Alzheimer was able to do an autopsy and test his idea that perhaps her symptoms were caused by irregularities in the brain's structure. What he found beneath the microscope were visible differences in brain tissue in the form of misfolded proteins called plaques and neurofibrillary tangles. Those plaques and tangles work together to break down the brain's structure. Plaques arise when another protein in the fatty membrane surrounding nerve cells gets sliced up by a particular enzyme, resulting in beta-amyloid proteins, which are sticky and have a tendency to clump together. That clumping is what forms the things we know as plaques. These clumps block signaling and therefore communication between cells, and also seem to trigger immune reactions that cause the destruction of disabled nerve cells. In Alzheimer's disease, neurofibrillary tangles are built from a protein known as tau. The brain's nerve cells contain a network of tubes that act like a highway for food molecules, among other things. Usually, the tau protein ensures that these tubes are straight, allowing molecules to pass through freely. But in Alzheimer's disease, the protein collapses into twisted strands or tangles, making the tubes disintegrate, obstructing nutrients from reaching the nerve cell and leading to cell death. The The destructive pairing of plaques and tangles starts in a region called the hippocampus, which is responsible for forming memories. That's why short-term memory loss is usually the first symptom of Alzheimer's. The proteins then progressively invade other parts of the brain, creating unique changes that signal various stages of the disease. At the front of the brain, the proteins destroy the ability to process logical thoughts. Next, they shift to the region that controls emotions, resulting in erratic mood changes. At the top of the brain, they cause paranoia and hallucinations. And once they reach the brain's rear, the plaques and tangles work together to erase the mind's deepest memories. Eventually, the control centers governing heart rate and breathing are overpowered as well, resulting in death. The immensely destructive nature of this disease has inspired many researchers to look for a cure, but currently, they're focused on slowing its progression. One temporary treatment helps reduce the breakdown of acetylcholine, an important chemical messenger in the brain, which is decreased in Alzheimer's patients due to the death of the nerve cells that make it. Another possible solution is a vaccine that trains the body's immune system to attack beta-amyloid plaques before they can form clumps. But we still need to find an actual cure. Alzheimer's disease was discovered more than a century ago, and yet still it is not well understood. Perhaps one day we'll grasp the exact mechanisms at work behind this threat, and a solution will be unearthed.
Yeah, so I thought this video was very aptly describing the whole phenomena of Alzheimer's. And when I took Alzheimer's, we have just celebrated the Alzheimer's Day yesterday, and we know 70% of patients who've got Alzheimer's are demented. So I thought of taking that video and explaining the whole phenomena very clearly to you all. If you already have someone in the family or have somebody who's experiencing dementia, then you already know it is a very expensive one and it is emotionally devastating for the family and the one who's experiencing it. Why is that? You know, some people are aware that they become impaired, so they think about what it would feel like if you woke up tomorrow in the morning and you would not figure out where your socks are. And it is not because you're in the hotel room. You walk into the kitchen and you cannot make a cup of coffee with your own coffee maker. And you walk out of your work one evening and you're looking around at the parking lot full of cars and you're not able to think what your car looks like. It's scary. And then you go to the doctor and your doctor says, yeah, it looks like dementia. And now you know you have got 8 to 12 years of life expectancy. And if something else doesn't look at you, first you're looking at becoming bedridden and in the need of complete care. So people are terrified, and they're rightly so. But other people, the caregivers, they are not aware and they're not able to comprehend that it is their brain that is changing. And so these people don't feel as much afraid as they feel frustrated, angry, because of course, it seems to them that everybody around them is being difficult. Everybody around them is being difficult, hiding things, losing things, accusing them of doing things that they did not do. And so these people begin to feel a little persecuted, maybe a little paranoid, and so they are more angry than afraid. But how do we behave when we are angry or afraid? We are not very reasonable. We are not very easy to live with. So even before you take into account what happens to communication and interactions, when your cognitive skills are fading away, it is really stressful. And to try to line up with somebody who has dementia, but you know, it doesn't have to be as bad as it has been, and it's not expensive to fix this, and we don't have to all go to the medical school or become doctors or nurses and don't need a college education. But what we have to do is step back and look at dementia from a different approach. So how do we currently look at dementia? We see at it as a medical problem, a disease, something that has got symptoms. These symptoms are called dementia-related behaviors. And we have got a whole list of terms to talk about them. So if I went to the doctor and my doctor said, look, Rita, you've got cancer, then I immediately would want a referral to a specialist, probably to a surgeon, and I would want to know everything that I need to know about my cancer. Where it is, how bad it is, where it has spread. all possible treatment, and I'd want all of my doctors to get focused on that cancer because there is treatment, and probably I have a good chance that I may not have to live with it for the rest of my life. So I want focused care because there is a treatment. With dementia, do we have the same thing? We go to the doctor as well. We should for diagnosis. But this is one of those instances where we think we are being seen something clearly. We think we are doing the best we can, but there is no way to know that we can do better until we look at it from different angle. And so with dementia, yes, let's get to the diagnosis. But if we do not have a reliable treatment, one that works for everybody, one that works every time, if we don't have a cure, why are we still turning to a medical professional as they are focused on what's wrong under the disabilities the person is displaying? Why don't we focus on the person? Because if you have to live with something the rest of your life, wouldn't it make sense? Wouldn't it be more helpful if you knew what you could do rather than what you couldn't do? If you knew how it was affecting you emotionally? That's what we need to know if we have to live with something. And actually, this is an approach that is already in use. We call it being person-centered. And when we focus on the patient's condition and we are paying attention to their strengths, rather than what's wrong with them, we call that as strength-based care. We have been using it, strength-based care. Strength-based care is how we raise our children. You look at the child and evaluate his cognitive development, and then you shape the environment and that the child will be safe and comfortable. And then you pay attention to the child's emotional needs and meet them. For example, you arrange nap times for toddlers and curfews for adolescents. So we know the four-year-old child will not be comfortable in an environment as a 14-year-old. So we have been doing this for centuries with our children. If that's the case, then how are we failing with our loved ones when they develop dementia? If you know, it's because it's exactly the opposite. It's counterintuitive to everything we have been doing all their lives. Children are learning, growing, and improving every day, growing skills cognitively. But when one of us loved ones gets demented, they're not able to learn, they're not gaining skills, but losing it. And trust in humanity is lost. I believe whenever you trust humanity, losing should not be there. We must always seek solutions or improve or hope. But there is different kind of hope, and that's why we celebrate days as these. Because we can do it. We can take care of them if we know their strengths. So this is what dementia looks to me after keeping on visiting an old age home in my vicinity. And it is our old age home in my area. So dementia and action. What do dementia people lose? They lose rational thought. They lose remembering self. They lose mindfulness. But what is retained in them? What is retained in them is an intuitive thought, experiential self, mindlessness. And mind you, when you look at one side, what is lost, and when you look at the other side that's retained, all that you need to do is strengthen these retained aspects of the person, and the person is going to do amazing. So these are the 6 set of skills that every one of us can use at will with a healthy brain. And right now, while I'm talking, I'm primarily using my rational thinking skills, my memory, and my mindfulness. The skills are on the left side of the table, and these skills demented people lose, as I told you all. But that's not a bad news if they have a companion, a family, somebody who cares for them, because the real fun stuff is all on the right side of the table. Intuitive thought. This is how we access beauty, enjoy nature, music, its creativity. It's how we feel our own feelings and how we interpret and receive the feelings of people around us. And it's our experiential self that exists right now, receiving all kinds of sensory stimulation, information from our 5 senses. That's what keeps us connected. And the last one, mindlessness. Isn't it lovely? We don't have to think ourselves consciously through every task we do. So many tasks in a day, right from morning, getting up, brushing, bathing, walking up to the college. So many things I can do mindlessly. So The persons with dementia can do the same. Use mindlessness skills as automatic thinking scripts muscle memory, but as long as we do not move them out of their familiar area. Let me take an example. I think examples will make my whole thoughts clear. We had this couple, Ramesh and Radha, high school sweethearts, married for 6 decades. Radha was diagnosed with dementia. This is a case that I have nursed. She was diagnosed with dementia 5 years ago, and Ramesh is getting exhausted from her dementia-related behaviors. And one day morning, they had to go down to a dentist, and Ramesh sits on the couch, kisses her on the forehead and says, "Dear, put on your socks and shoes, and I will have a wash and be back." In a minute later, he comes back and finds Radha was 1 foot bare, 1 shoe on, and she's trying to put a sock over the toe of the shoe. Now, Ramesh feels a little flash of frustration, irritation, and in a little bit of panic because they need to hurry. No, Radha, no. Now, this is not the way you have to put shoes. You do not know how to put your shoes and socks. You have been doing this your whole life. Socks first. And he hurries to the kitchen to get breakfast and comes back to see Radha sitting with the socks. Now he's more frustrated, more worried that they'll get late and his son would come and would again be irritated. So he pulls for the socks and says, "Fine, I'll do it." And she reaches for him and hits him. And when the son arrives, both parents were in tears and Ramesh is trying to restrain and Radha is trying to hit. And this is what is called as combative behavior. It's symptoms of dementia. So what happened? Where did Ramesh go wrong? Ramesh did not realize he asked her to do several things that she did not have the ability to do. She does not have rational thought. So she cannot follow the steps and processes. And he asked her to do 2 things at once, shoes and socks. And then he gave her directions, socks first. And he asked her to use her remembering self or memory to recall something. How would she recall when the hippocampus is injured? She'd done all her life all this, but now the hippocampus does not have the recalling facility. So he put her in a spot and he embarrassed her. The mindlessness tools that she probably still had at her disposal, if she didn't even give in 1 step in the task, went right out of the windows when that turned into a negative event in her life. How could Ramesh have done it differently? If Ramesh knew what her disabilities were and he knew what her strengths were, if Ramesh knew Radha had fully operational intuitive thoughts and was picking up every one of his emotions like a radar, and he could have been careful not to display his frustration. So if Ramesh sits down on the couch, kisses her and says, "Here, honey, here's your favorite brown socks. I love the way they bring out the color of your eyes. Put your socks and I will be back after a wash." And he comes back. As he walks back, maybe she would have worn the socks, maybe she wouldn't have. And then he could bend down, put the socks, and give her the shoes and say, "I'll get some breakfast, put on your shoes." And this time, nobody got on the spot. Nobody is asked to do something they cannot do. And this time, Radha feels she has a partner and they're working together as always. And maybe this time, she'd succeed in putting her shoes. And one thing that happened for sure is that her experience of self continued to experience the present in a very comfortable way and a very safe way. And it doesn't matter whether we are children or adults, whether we have a disease or we don't have a disease. And it doesn't matter whether we have dementia or not. We all have the same emotional needs. And when somebody is experiencing progressive cognitive impairment, the skills that they have at their disposal are changing. They're using the 3 skills on the right-hand side of the table, but they still need to feel secure and they still need to feel successful in social situation and have a sense of well-being, including control, able to make decisions. It doesn't go away when we get dementia. We can do this. We can raise our children we have been doing for decades, centuries, entire civilization. So we can be kind to our dementia patients. We can provide strength-based dementia care. So my invitation to all of you all is, can we all get together to give strength-based dementia care at home to all our patients and ensure that they use the skills which I had tabled on the right-hand side and have a comfortable journey for our dementia patients. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for educating us about dementia. It was really a good talk. We'll come back to you in the question and answer round. Participants are requested to put their questions in the chat box. Now, we have amongst us Mrs. Purmi Jyoti Deochka, who is currently working as an assistant professor of the Royal School of Nursing, Assam Royal Global University. Ma'am has more than 10 years of experience. She had completed her master's in medical surgical nursing from Gautam College of Nursing, Bangalore, and has worked as an officiating principal in the NMC School of Nursing. Ma'am has also worked as an assistant professor in the Sharda University, Greater Noida. Her passion towards her work has earned her the Best Teacher Award in 2014 from the NMC School of Nursing. We welcome you, ma'am, and we look forward to hear from you. The mic is all yours, ma'am. For me, ma'am.
Yes, can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, audible.
Attention. Okay. Oh. Very beautiful and showed a great video which explained Alzheimer's disease in a nutshell. I also want to throw some light on the history of Alzheimer's disease. So, first of all, I will be talking on the history of Alzheimer's disease. The history of Alzheimer's disease starts with two significant people. First, Auguste Dieter, and second, Dr. ALOIS ALZHEIMER. Auguste Dieter was the first patient who was diagnosed with the Alzheimer's disease. She was born on 16th May 1850 in Germany. She was admitted in a mental hospital because her behavior was very peculiar. She used eat, and what she used to do as she usually used to drag her bedsheet across the room and scream in the middle of the night. So her husband was very worried and put her in a mental hospital, where she died at the age of 55 years on 8 April 1906. So she was the first person who was diagnosed. And the second significant person is Dr. ALOIS ALZHEIMER was a German psychiatrist who diagnosed the Alzheimer's disease first in August Dieter. So he was very much puzzled with the symptoms which was showed by a 51-year-old Auguste Dieter. He started studying her case very minutely, and when she died, she performed autopsy of her brain. Found which is the hallmark of disease. So we'll discuss about the plaques and tangles. Okay. So to understand about the Alzheimer's disease, let me first tell all of you that our brain has billions of neuronal networks. the neurons used to communicate with one another with the electrical charges that pass through them. And with this electrical transmission, it makes us move to think, to do all our healthy neurotransmission is very important. But in Alzheimer's disease, what happens? This normal neural transmission is hampered, interfered. This occurs. This occurs because of some pathological conditions which goes in the brain. So I would like to talk on APP molecule first. So what is APP? APP is amyloid precursor protein. So there is a molecule called APP in the membrane of the neuron. So okay, you see in the diagram, these are the APP molecule. Now what is APP molecule? APP molecules are the molecules which is thought that it support the neural growth and repair after its damage or injury. So since this is a protein molecule, it regularly gets recycled and renewed. And the recycling process is done by two types of enzymes known as alpha secretase and gamma secretase. So in this picture, you can see the scissors. Okay, the scissors symbolizes the two enzymes which cleave the APP molecule for its recycling process. In a healthy brain, what happens? This alpha secretase used to cleave the APP molecule at this site, and gamma secretase enzyme used to cleave at this site. And it releases beta amyloid brain, beta amyloid peptide, which is released at cleavage. What happens? This beta amyloid peptides are soluble in nature normally, which used to get eliminated from our body. So there is no accumulation of any plaques. But in case of Alzheimer's disease, what happens? Due to some unknown reason, this gamma secretase enzyme is paired up with other type of enzyme known as beta secretase. So remember, in normal healthy brain, this gamma secretase is paired up with alpha secretase. But in Alzheimer's disease, gamma secretase is paired up with beta secretase. So when these two enzymes paired up and the peptide which is released, now it is insoluble in nature. It does not get solved, and then what happens? It is always sticky in nature. They stick together and forms clump. And now this sticky clump is known as beta amyloid plaque. This beta amyloid plaque in between the neurons usually, and this deposition of plaques interferes with this cell neuron to neuron signaling. So this is how beta amyloid plaques are formed. Okay. Then next, the pathological condition is the tau protein and the neurofibrillary tangles. What happens here? Fibrillary tangles used to be formed inside the neuron. Plaques used to get deposited outside the neuron, in between the two neurons, and neurofibrillary tangles used to get inside the neuron. Now, how this happens? So this is a normal structure of neuron. So normal structure of neuron is maintained by the cytoskeleton, which is made of these microtubules are placed aligned. They are supported by a special type of protein known as tau protein. You can see the blue colors here. These are the tau proteins. It holds the microtubule together and keeps it in aligned. So this alignment of the microtubule is very, very essential for the transportation of the nutrients to the the electrical impulses. Now, what happens here? Alzheimer's disease, tau protein used to break apart from the microtubule. So as this tau protein used to break apart, what happens? It doesn't no longer hold the microtubule anymore. So when it breaks apart, the whole microtubule used to get disintegrated. Okay, so this microtubule is disintegrated, and hence now what happens? No nutrients can reach to the neuron, and electrical charges also cannot travel through them. So this leads to what? Eventually death of the neuron. So this leads to the degeneration of the neuron. And you can see in this picture, this is a neuron which is having neurofibrillary tangles inside. You compare it with the healthy neuron. This is a healthy neuron which is well aligned with the cytoskeleton. So what is neurofibrillary tangle? This tau protein used to break apart and it used to get clumped with one another and forms tangle. So this is the neurofibrillary tangle. So the hallmark of the Alzheimer's disease is that there will be deposition of between gaps of in the synapses, which will interfere with the neuron to neuron signaling, and the tau protein breaks apart, results in the formation of neurofibrillary tangle inside the neuron, which will lead to ultimately death of the neuron. Now, hippocampus. So what is hippocampus? This is a structure which is embedded in the temporal lobe of the brain. This hippocampus is responsible for the memory, motivation, learning things, making decisions, etc. So this is the structure in the brain which is first attacked by the Alzheimer's disease. So in Alzheimer's disease, this hippocampus used to get damaged first. That is why the first ever symptom of Alzheimer's disease is loss of memory and behavioral changes, because it starts with the hippocampus. But as the disease progresses, it takes all over the brain. The plaques and tangles is spread all over the brain. Now, you can compare the brain. This is the healthy brain and Alzheimer patient. So you can see that in Alzheimer, the brain has shrunk. The shrinkage has occurred because of the degeneration of the neuron. So because of the degeneration of the neuron, the brain has shrunk. Now let me tell you 5 A's of Alzheimer's symptom. Okay, if you find these 5 A's in a person, then you can tell that that person is having Alzheimer's disease. So the first A is amnesia. So amnesia is the inability to remember. That is loss of memory. Then second A is anomia. Anomia is inability to name an object or person. Suppose if you show an Alzheimer patient a mobile, he will not this mobile. So he loses to name the object or person. Then the third A is aphasia. Aphasia is inability to understand language. Whatever language he has learned, now gradually he used to lose it. So this lead in difficulty of understanding language, framing sentences, speaking, and writing. So this is aphasia. Then the fourth A is agnosia. Now what is agnosia? Agnosia is inability to identify object or person. Suppose you give a fork with the noodle to the Alzheimer patient, and he cannot think that what is this, what this fork is. He will not identify that this is a fork. So he even can't identify the object or person which was very familiar to him. Then the fifth A is aphrexia. So what is aphrexia? It is inability to perform a task of movement. So this is the symptom of the later stage of Alzheimer's disease. The first stage starts with amnesia, anomia, and this progresses, it leads to the inability of the person to perform a task of movement. He cannot move at all. He is so helpless. He even can't feed by himself. He cannot move. He cannot swallow. And so many complications occurs. And the person of Alzheimer's disease, the reason for the death in Alzheimer's disease is that ultimately the brain loses all its functions, and the person will die because of the complications. The patient will not die because of the formation of plaques and tangles, but because of the complications where the patient is not able to do anything. He may aspirate himself because he is not able to swallow, and because he is not able to move, so he will be completely bedridden, and his whole body will be vulnerable for the infection. So because of the complications and sepsis from the infections and all, pneumonia, so because of all those things, a patient with Alzheimer's disease used to die. Then Alzheimer's patient who was William UTERMOHLEN'S. So who was William UTERMOHLEN'S? So he was an American artist who was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease in the year 1995 at the age of 62 years. And he died in 2007 at the age of 74 years after a decade of diagnosis with Alzheimer's disease. So this is the life who is diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. He will have a life expectancy of 8 to 10 or 12 years only. Now, why he was so famous? He was famous for his paintings. This artist had a habit of making self-portrait. So you can see all his portraits made by him. This portrait was made by him in the year 1967 when he was young and without any Alzheimer's disease. So this is a perfect portrait by him. Now, he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease in the year 1995, and after 1 year, he again made his self-portrait. So after the diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease in the year 1995, after 1 year, he made his portrait like this. Then in 1990, he made his self-portrait this. 1998, his self-portrait was this. And in 1999, this is his self-portrait, and 2000, he made his last self-portrait, and it looks like this. So this is showing that the Alzheimer's disease was greatly affecting his visual perceptual skills. His visual perceptual skills were so much affected that he even could not paint his own portrait, which was a profession of him. He was so passionate about his paintings, but this Alzheimer's disease has made him lost all his abilities. So his last portrait was in the year 2000, and after that he could not make any portrait because he was not able to hold his this paintbrush and all after that. and he died after 7 years in the year 2007. Now these whole paintings are the property of a museum situated in Chicago. Now diagnosis. The time of ALOIS Alzheimer, he had to perform autopsy of the brain to know that there were presence of plaques and tangles. But now the medical science has advanced, so there is no need of doing any more autopsy. So one of the best diagnostic radioactive analog of flavin. So this is a radiological image of the PET scan, where this radio tracer thioflavin will highlight all the areas of the brain where beta amyloid plaques are deposited. So it will highlight, and it will make us visualize where in the part of the brain where and how much beta amyloid plaques are deposited. Now, treatment. It has been so many years. The first case was diagnosed in 1906. After that, still there is no cure for the disease. Only treatment is that it can slow down the disease process. And FDA approved groups of drugs, that is Cept, Agilon, Rezadine, Memantine. So these 4 groups of drugs are the drug of choice for the treatment of Alzheimer's disease. It cannot cure the disease, but it can slow down the progress of the disease. And these drugs are the group of cholinesterase. So these do what? It used to slow, it used to boost the transfer of neuron to neuron signaling, so that there will be greater chance of travel of the neurotransmission. Now come to the conclusion. So since it has been many years the discovery of the Alzheimer's disease, but still the medical science cannot find a cure to the disease. And the person who is diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease can survive only for another 10 years. And he will die because of helplessness. It is like his life is present in a dead body where he cannot do everything, and he is totally dependent on others. Everything, for every small thing for him, every small need for him, he is dependent on others. And it also burdens other caretakers. So it's a burden for the family, because 24/7 he has to look after the patient. It also increases the cost of the care, and so many things happens. So this is Alzheimer's disease, all about Alzheimer's disease. So I would like to conclude my topic here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for educating us. It was a really great learning experience. Now, let's move on to the question and answer round. Number of questions have reached us. I will be reading out the question to our. The first question here comes is, what are the factors contributing to dementia and can it be prevented? May I request Rita ma'am to please answer the question to the participant. What are the factors contributing to dementia and can it be prevented?
I think my previous speaker, Umi Jyoti, madam, she has explained about the factors. Can we give it to her only, because she's just explained?
Sure. Urmi ma'am, can you please shed some light on this?
Yes, can you repeat the question, please?
Ma'am, the question is, what are the factors contributing to dementia and can it be prevented?
First of all, that the exact cause is still unknown. Why it happens, but as the age increases, okay, age is the main factor here. After a person reaches at the age of 65 years, he is very much at the risk of getting Alzheimer's disease or dementia. And the thing is that this happens because of the deposition of plaques and tangles, formation of tangles. Now, 65 is the age, but he may have already started depositing plaques in his brain at the age of even 40 years, because the signs and symptoms will not show until it reaches to the tipping point. It will be reached to the tipping point, and after 10 to 20 years. So even a person
I can
he started depositing in his brain. Ma'am? Which is the main factor here. And then again it says that females dementia or Alzheimer's, again here what happens is still going on, but one reason is maybe that females live longer than male. So as the age increases, they are more prone to get the Alzheimer's disease. Exact prevent measures are still not known, but as usual, to be healthy, like eating healthy, exercising, then avoiding habits, all things also help in preventing. Also a very preventive aspect, have good amount of sleep, because studies says that lack of sleep, okay, deprivation of sleep may lead to more accumulation of beta amyloid plaques. When we used to sleep, these beta amyloid plaques used to get eliminated from our body. So deprivation of sleep may also lead to it. And then being creative is very, very important. Give exercise to your brain, solve puzzles, and then do some creative things, write things, go into some literatures and whatever, be some creative. So being creative, what happens, it exercises the brain and it may keep us away from having dementia or Alzheimer's disease. Okay, thank you.
can I add on something, please?
Sure, ma'am.
Dr.
Sure.
Abhishek, can I add? Yeah.
Yes,
So when
sure.
people talk about Alzheimer's and they're looking for causes, there is only definite etiology. There is no clear-cut cause. So when you talk about Alzheimer's, we have Alzheimer's that is sporadic and we have Alzheimer's that is familial. We also have Alzheimer's that is caused by mutation of genes. Now, when you talk about mutations of gene, we have got PSEN1, which changes the gamma location of secretase. So it is when this gamma secretase location has been changed, the person is definite to get Alzheimer's in a later age. Another thing is that when we have this gene E4 allele, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Yeah. So when you have this gene E4 allele, it is apolipoprotein A. This APOE4, the more APOE4 you have, if you have one protein, you have some risk, but you have two proteins, you have greater risk. So the definite cause, the etiology that have been seen of Alzheimer's is more because of gene, either because of this apolipoprotein E4, or you have PSEN, which is which changes the location of gamma secretase. It has also been definitely seen in trisomy 21 in Down syndrome, because of course we know in Down syndrome there is mutations of gene. Now, I think I saw one more question as ma'am was answering. Can it happen in at the age of 40, at younger age? So mutations of gene can show this presentation at a younger age, but if you have the one which is E4 allele, this E4 allele presents only after 65 years of age. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am. The next question which we received in mail, there is a question which says that how to manage the challenging behaviors in person with dementia. If anyone can please shed light on it.
Yeah, so I have answered this in my presentation very well. I think my whole presentation was focused on we have dementia related behaviors, and this dementia related behaviors are very difficult to manage. Let us understand that first, when I have a person who is going to show me dementia behaviors or Alzheimer's, the person may not have any detectable presentation, though he may have tau tangles and the pathophysiology being developing in the person. You will later on find the person presents with mild short-term memories. You ask the person, what did you have in the breakfast? And the person is not able to tell you. Moves on to loss of motor skills and language. It is generally when the person comes to you with the presentation of loss of motor skills and language that when you take a CT, you find some kind of atrophy and the ventricles are dilated. This is the time we often pick up the patients when they come to us with dementia. Later on, they have gross memory loss where they're not able to even identify their spouses. They eventually go into disorientation, become bedridden, and they die because they get multiple infections. So when you look at this phenomena of going on from one area of non-detectable problem to mild presentation to severe disorientation and death, you will find patients are going to present to you with multiple dementia related behaviors, and it is difficult to take care of them. Please remember, they have retained three important skills. Their intuition, they are very, very intuitive, so they can tell you this is happening. They can experience the present, so don't destroy their present. So when they are interacting with you, they are picking up your messages, they are picking up how I've been cared for. So when you disturb that presentation in them, the present phenomena in them, then they get very irritated and it's very difficult to manage them. So keep their present life very, very happy because they're picking up that messages. They are not retaining those messages. So you ask them half an hour later, what happened half an hour before, they're not able to tell you, but they are able to experience now. So keep their now beautiful. They have that phenomena of mindlessness. Please remember, all of us have that mindlessness. We do so many things when we don't use our brain energy. So they have that mindlessness because they don't have a memory. Use that mindlessness to help them to do their work. So if you tell them, this is how you must walk up to the kitchen and this is how you must prepare your coffee, give them one simple instruction. They will follow that as routine because now your muscle is scripting that behavior that they have learned. So these three things, if you remember, these are the three strengths that a dementia patients have. You will find it amazing to manage dementia patients. Let me tell you, though I'm telling you it's amazing to manage patients, I also know because I had a dementic grandmother-in-law and it was a real problem because we used to feel we are not able to satisfy her. This mother-in-law, this grandmother of mine would every time keep on asking us for food. And we would say, Grandma, you just had your food. And she would say, no, I want food. And we would keep on giving her small dips of food. And then she would say, no, I don't want this. So it is really challenging. It is emotionally devastating. So you require a lot of patience to manage them. Thank you. I hope I've answered the question.
Thank you so much, ma'am. There is one question, but I think Urmi ma'am has already answered that question in her presentation. Is there any test that can be done to see the person prone to develop dementia? I think Urmi ma'am has already answered this question. So with this PET scan, so I think with this, most of the questions have been answered, which brings us to the end of the session. To conclude the session, I would like to take the opportunity to thank Dr. A.K. Pansari, sir, Chancellor and Local University.
Hello,
Professor.
Abhishek.
Yes, ma'am.
Teacher has come. Is he
Okay.
visible?
Sure.
Just invite him once. He is there.
We can see that Professor Dr. S.P. Singh, sir, has joined with us. Sir is an academician, well-known academician and administrator, having dynamic personality with more than 30 years of experience, teaching research and academic administration in reputed institutions across the nation. Sir has been associated with the Royal Group since its inception in 2009 as the founder director of the institution. Sir has served the Amity Group as the Senior Vice President, Academics, and the founder Vice Chancellor of the Amity University, Chhattisgarh, before joining the Assam Royal Global University. With the vision and hard work of Professor Singh, the university has been ranked #1 private university of Assam within a span of just 3 years. While serving as the Vice Chancellor of Royal Global University, Professor Singh has completed 20 years of headship of the well-known academic institutions of the country. A geologist, management, MBA, and a law graduate with PhD in strategic management, Sir is also a baseball player and actively involved in co-curricular activities. Sir, I would like to request you to address the participants with your words of wisdom. The mic is all yours, sir.
Thank you, Abhishek. I think I'm so sorry that I could join because I was out to meet the Honorable Chief Minister of Assam. Our Chancellor's book has been released today. So that was one. So, I mean, especially to the two speakers, Professor Rita Lakhani and our own teacher who was there, Urmil Jyoti Deori. She was with us for a long time. So thank you so very much for, deliberation today and enriching the participant with respect to the disease called Alzheimer, dementia. And I think I have one experience of working with one person, and he was having the same name, Colonel S.P. Singh, when I joined Amity Group, and he was my boss for some time. And his wife was a patient of Alzheimer. And I remember the type of hardships he used to have at that point of time. Every day he used to arrange everything. There's a permanent 1 or 2 people were required at home to take care of that. So it's a very, very, I would say, difficult situation for if anybody's having Alzheimer patient at home, dementia and all those things. So, I mean, that is one. But then many of us, or maybe some of us may develop this kind of disease in due course of time if we will not take care of ourselves from the beginning. Means that all of us who are listening to this webinar today, 94 of you, if you have elderly people at home, if you have middle-aged people at home, this is my thinking. I may be wrong. Doctors can advise better, and the deliberation also, many things have been said. But I'm very surprised that people are just making, a very grim face. I think, Urmil Jyoti, you should smile. And Gitu Vani ma'am, I mean, you're sitting like, I don't like to speak. I want, vibrant faces and response faces. So one of the most important thing of keeping aside Alzheimer and dementia is that you have to be very happy. You have to be very vibrant. You have to read a lot. You have to remember a lot. You have to take life as a storyteller, and you should be telling stories to everyone. Writing is very, very important. Whatever you remember, if you write with pleasure, that I guarantee if you will write with pleasure, you will never have Alzheimer. You will never have dementia. And many such things. I mean, talk as a part of adult education. I mean, like you have to talk to elderly people, younger people, tell stories. My father, who's almost 80 years of age, every time I go, he tells me 10 stories. And I have actually read, or maybe actually have heard those stories maybe 20 times from him. But every time when I go, he tells me something new, and I know he's telling me again. But I'm happy to give time and listen to him, because I know, because of all these things, at the age of 80, he is not having any kind of dementia or Alzheimer, and many people. So therefore, it is not the responsibility of individuals who may face dementia or Alzheimer in due course of time. It is the responsibility of all of us who are younger than the old people at home, and my younger generation, means my children and your children and children young. If we all as a family work together and give time to each and everyone, listen to everyone, promote people to write, I think this disease will not go to the level of doctors. And therefore, it is very, very important. That is basically, it is not an inheritance. It is your lifestyle. It is the way you work in your home and you practice different things at home. That makes, in my opinion. And then there are a few physical exercises, swimming and group sports, and like anybody who's playing sports, I have hardly seen that person is suffering from Alzheimer or dementia. So you should be playing at least one sports. That may be only carom. That may be anything. But I remember the Munna Bhai MBBS movie, and you see that patient was not recovering, and the carom, and they used to, Queen Lena. I mean, those all things keep you agile. And how long at old age you keep yourself agile? That is my message I want to give to all the participants. I think yoga, meditation, all this is a part of it. Walking. You walk every day, 2-3 kilometers, depending upon. So walking, yoga, meditation, playing bird sports, swimming, which whatever I know, then telling stories, writing books, reading regularly, and all these things, musical instrument, playing music, remember, I mean, singing song, and there are so many things, I mean, karaoke, and then we have Star Maker. Every day if you sing a song, you may not be good singer, you sing a song, record it, listen again, you will not have Alzheimer. I guarantee for that. So it's not very difficult, but the only thing is people don't know about these small things. They don't have passion to do anything new. They don't have passion to play. They don't have passion to sing. They don't have passion to play instruments. They live in their own world. I mean, grim faces all the time, talking negative, blah, blah, blah. I mean, they will have Alzheimer, no doubt about it. Let's be positive. This is my message to all those people who are not having Alzheimer. You can do so many things which I have talked, that you can reduce or the possibility of Alzheimer. If anybody is having Alzheimer, I think I'm not a right person to tell that what to be done for the people who are having Alzheimer. That I think Gitumani madam and I think Urmil Jyoti and others can tell. But I can tell you, you can stop this disease even if you are having inheritance. And you can really do it by keeping yourself happy, positive, and doing whatever one or two things from the list I have given to you. So this is I wanted to say. Thank you so very much for the two eminent speaker. I don't know I could do justice to this topic in 5 minutes or not, but I always talk something which probably is close to my heart. I have seen people around me with Alzheimer, and it is quite likely that many people will be having Alzheimer around us, but it is our duty to stop and try to tell people so that they change their lifestyle, and we have minimum patients of Alzheimer. The doctor's profession and the nursing profession may not like it, that if there will be less number of patients of Alzheimer. But as a vice chancellor of this university, I would love to have if there is no patient of Alzheimer. So this is what I want to say, and I will be very happy that one day we will say there's like we don't have chicken pox, or we don't have many diseases in India. They have been eradicated. One day, because of our intervention, Alzheimer will also be eradicated. So that is my wish, and I think I'm free to have my own wishes in my life. Thank you so much, Abhishek. I just wanted to take 5 minutes for that, and somehow I just joined you all right now. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable inputs. It is always a wonderful experience to hear from you. Thank you so much, sir. With this, we come to the conclusion of the webinar. To conclude the session, I would like to take the opportunity to thank Dr. A.K. Pansari, sir, Chancellor of Royal Global University, Professor Dr. S.P. Singh, sir, Vice Chancellor of the Assam Royal Global University, Dr. Gitumani Kaur, ma'am, Dean of the Royal School of Medical and Allied Sciences, and all the faculty members and students of the Royal Global University for their constant support. I would also like to thank the participants of the session